Hey friends, welcome to AI with Supreet. And today is going to be a very interesting day because what we are going to do today is we are going to create a chat application of our own. We are going to create a minified, very minified, simple version of Chat GPT using Semantic Kernel, and we'll see how to go about it. So far, what we have seen is that we have created an application where we read the prompts from C# file. Then we understood how semantic kernel allows us to read the prompts from files and allows us to create very complex structures in terms of plugins and functions, right? So today we are going to use the same knowledge that we have developed so far, and we are going to create a very simple chat application. So let's see how to go about that. I already have created an application, a console application called SK Chat, and I have already gone ahead and installed the Microsoft Semantic kernel NuGet package to it. You will have to do it if you are starting along. Then in the program.cs file, you'll see that I have added the two using statements that we need. And after that, what we need is we will need our the endpoint, the Azure endpoint, the security key, and the model name, which is the part of the pre-configuration. If you do not know this, then I would request you to go ahead and look into the first video in this series where we talk about this in detail. So I already have that copied. So I'm gonna blur my screen now, and I'm going to copy paste that here. Remember one thing though, that it's not an ideal practice to have your credentials used in the code file like this. I am doing it only for to keep it very simplified, but ideally you should read it from some config file and have it safe. Having said that, okay, let's go ahead and get started with our code. The first three steps are going to be exactly the same as they have been in the past. So what we are going to do is we are going to copy all these first three steps in one go this time. And what we are doing in the first step is we are creating a builder variable, which is nothing but kernels. We are using the kernel, which is our semantic kernel, and we are using the create builder method to create a builder object out of it. Then we are passing it the endpoint, the API key, the deployment name. We are giving these as your configuration, and then we are using the builder.build method to create an object of the kernel. And next step is to go ahead. This is the basic setup. We have this ready now. So the next step is to go ahead and write our prompt. So I'm going to go ahead and write our prompt. So because we are creating a small chat application, our prompt is really very simple, where we are saying that I am. Oops. So I'm just gonna go ahead and close that like that. Okay. So my prompt is that you are a chatbot, and can have a conversation with you about any topic. Uh, you are a chatbot, and you can have a conversation with you about any topic. It can give explicit information when available, or say I don't know if it does not have an answer. So that is our simple prompt. The next step is to go ahead and create a semantic function out of it. So let's go ahead and copy that code here. These steps are all common. So if you have been following along the rest of the videos in the semantic kernel series, that you will notice that these 4 or 5 steps are exactly the same. The only thing that have changed so far is the prompt in this project, because we are creating a chatbot here. So in the fifth step, what we are doing is we are creating a chat function using the kernel.create function from prompt. So we have the prompt. So we are using this kernel.create function from prompt method, giving it the prompt and execution settings. This time I have given it max tokens as 2000. Again, I know I do remember that I need to talk about this in detail. Don't worry, we have a new video coming in that talks about these build configuration parameters in detail, execution configuration parameters in detail, and we will talk about that. But yeah, for time being, just understand that because we are creating a chat application, we need a larger input, and that's why the tokens size have increased from 100 that we have been using so far to 2000. The temperature is zero point 0.7 here. If you remember, this is the value. If it is closer to 1, you are basically asking the AI model to be more creative. If it is nearer to 0, you are saying that don't be very creative, give me only the facts. Top P is exactly the same as temperature. Not exactly the same. It behaves the same way, just that it works on probability mass. Something that we will discuss in the detail. For time being, let's keep it at zero point 0.5. And then what we are doing here again is using the prompt and the execution setting to create a chat function. Now that when we have our chat function ready, let's go ahead and create a small chat application. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy paste this code over here, and we'll talk about this now. So what we are going to do is in our chat, if you remember here, that we oops, I think I messed up a little here. My yeah, this should be my uh the entire prompt is this. I think I copied it wrong. So my prompt is needs to be this, right? So now again, you see what the prompt here is. Chatbot can have a conversation with you about any topic, and it can give explicit information or say I don't know if it does not have an answer. Now if you notice, what we have here is we have one variable here called user input, right? And what we need to do now is, because we have that one variable, let's build that variable. And that variable is nothing but, if you are creating a chat function, you need to pass that variable as an argument. So we will create an object of the kernel argument class here, and then we will fill this in by using a value from user. So what we are doing here in step number 7 is that we are saying that, hey, I'm a chatbot, ask me anything, and then we are waiting for the user to provide an input. We take that user input, use it in the user input variable, and then pass it as an argument to this argument variable here. In fact, I don't need this line here, and I can simply go ahead and paste that there. So that line in fact was redundant. So now we are asking the user to ask a question or start the chat, and then we will process it and share the result back with the user. So let's go ahead and do that. So I am going to go ahead and copy paste this here, where what we are doing is we are again using the chat function dot invoke async. This is the way you call the model, and then you pass it the kernel object that we have created. Remember, the kernel object has all the build setting. It knows about the prompt. It has the prompt settings. It also now when we are invoking this function, apart from the kernel, we are also passing it the arguments. In our case, the argument is only one argument, is user input, that the input that the user has provided. All right. So this is the basic structure of our application, chat application, in very simple 8 steps. Let's go ahead and run this and see what happens. So I'm running it now, and build succeeded. We have the console here. Let's see what it does. It says, "Hi, I'm a chatbot. Ask me anything." Great. So now I'll say, "Hi, my name is Supreet, and hello, Supreet. How can I assist you today?" So it gives me an answer, but at the same time, it closes the flow. So we'll need to make some changes in our code so that the chat is happening to and fro. It does not give me just one response and after that stops. Right now, it is doing that. Okay, so let's go ahead and make some changes to our code so that it is waiting for my reply, and then based on my reply it responds again, right? So we will need to make some changes. So let's go ahead and do that. I've already done this. So let me go ahead and copy my code here. What I'm going to do here is, see, what I've created here is that I have created a while function, so that it's in kind of sort of an infinite loop. And when while true is an infinite loop, and I am reading the user input in this variable over here. I'm saying that, I'm a chatbot. Ask me anything. The user provides an input that I'm reading here in this variable called read input, And then because I already have this input here, let me just go ahead and disable this from here. We don't need that. We don't need this as well. So we don't need those two steps now because we are going to do the same here, right? So now I'm going to ask the user to ask anything. Then we are going to read what the user is saying and put that in this variable called read user input. Then what I have done is I have created a small chat function that accepts the user input as an input and then passes that into the user input argument. Now remember that this user input argument, the name of this variable needs to be exactly the same what you have it in your prompt, right? So now we are passing this input variable here, and then we are processing this chat function invoke. Again, we are giving it the kernel and the arguments so that it processes our input and posts that in as the answer, and then start the chat function. So now if it is running in a infinite while loop, I think what it will do is it will not close the window after providing me one answer, hi, um, but it will wait for my response, and it will keep giving me responses after that. So let's say my name is Supreet. Let's see what it does. It's hello Supreet, nice to meet you, how can I assist you today? And you see it did not close the program, it did not close the execution, because now it's running inside a infinite while loop. It is in fact waiting for me to give another instruction. Okay, so now can you suggest me a few books on productivity? Sure enough, it does that, right? It gives me the books on productivity. Now comes a super interesting part. You remember what was my first instruction to it? I gave it my name, right? Now let's go ahead if it remembers my name. Thanks. Do you know what my name is? And see the result, it says, I'm sorry, but I don't have access to that information. Could you please tell me your name? Let's try that again. My name is Supreet. Remember that, please. Cool. What is my name again? See, it does not have the information saved somewhere. So it does not have the previous history of your chat. It does not, it basically treats every single instruction as a new instruction. It does not know the previous instructions or the previous chat that you have had with it. Now that does not happen with ChatGPT, right? So we need to fix it. We need to give it some sort of a memory, right? So what we are going to do is we are going to very simply build a small memory into it, inline memory, or in memory function. We will just give it some history, and we'll see whether it is able to remember us or not, right? So let's tweak this code a little. So the very first thing that we will need to do is to go ahead and introduce a new variable in our prompt called history. So you remember that whenever you want to call an AI model, you have to give it the parameters. And so far, the only parameter that we were using was the user input. Now we are adding one more parameter here called history. And what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to say where history is equal to a blank history, and then I'm not going to add it here. So let me just create that as a blank parameter over here. Now once we have the answer over here, what we are going to do is we are going to say that, hey, use this answer and append that into my history. So I'm going to copy this code over here and I'm going to paste it over here. So now let's go through this code again. So what we are saying is that users input is the input that we have had now. The answer that the chatbot gave, use that as the answer here, the AI's answer here, and then use this entire string as result. The value, this the name of this entire string is result. And what we are going to say is that in the history variable, append this entire variable. And then in arguments, we are passing one more. So up until now, we were only passing one argument called input. But now that we have updated our prompt with one more variable called history, so let's go ahead and add that history here as well. So it's very simple. what we are doing is, we are basically, in layman terms, in simple terms, we are passing the entire chat history as part of the new instruction, as part of the new argument to the model, to the AI model. you know so up until now we were not doing this, and what we noticed was that the bot was not able to recollect. It did not have any sort of a memory. It was using every new instruction as a fresh new instruction. It did not have any memory of the previous chat. What we are doing is, we are passing it the entire previous chat as another argument in the history, right? And let's see if that fixes it. So let's go ahead and run this application again. Hi, I am a chatbot. Ask me anything. Okay, so I'm gonna say hi. Hi, my name is Supreet. And you suggest me a few books on productivity? Sure, sure enough. Now again, let's go ahead and ask what my name is. Thanks. Do you know what my name is? Yes, your name is Supreet. Sure enough, it remembers that. How is it possible? It is possible because what we did is, we added one more argument in the history here, and then we passed that the entire history as the history argument. So now we are passing it two different arguments. One is the fresh new instruction. The second one is the entire chat history that we have had so far. What will happen is, with this, what will happen is that the model, or the session, now has the history of your previous conversation, and it is able to use that history to respond or to create new answers, right? So this is how chat gpt works in essence. But there is a glitch. There are two major problems with this approach. Can you guess what those are? Let me say. One is that this history is not persistent. That means if I close this window and start afresh, it will not remember my name. Can you tell me what my name is? It won't, because it does not have that history appended to this entire chat, right? So that is problem number one. Problem number two with this approach is that, because we are passing the entire history as a new argument, and if you remember, this max token size is 2000. The bigger the input, the more tokens you are consuming, right? So what happens is that, after a certain period of time, your chat history will become so big that, you even if you are passing it to the model, it will not be able to process this entire chat history, because then it requires more tokens that than you have asked it to use, right? And sometimes, in fact, each of the models that we are talking about here has their own token limits. So, for example, OpenAI has said that most of these have 2096, 2000, some token, 2000 plus tokens. I'll have to check how many are there available, but every model of they out there has a default token, maximum token limit available, defined by default. Let me say that again. Every AI model out there has a max token limit defined by default. Yeah, I think I said that correct this time. So, what happens if the chat history becomes too big? It will not process your entire chat history, right? You are passing the entire chat history. Sure enough, it won't complain, but what it will do is, it will truncate. It will only read the input which falls below the max token limit for that particular session. So this has two different problems. In the next video, we will see how we can overcome these problems and create a more persistent memory that allows you to continue your chat, even in different sessions, like how it happens in chat gpt right now. And second, how you can optimize the memory so that you do not use the tokens, input tokens, or you do not use large amount of input tokens and still have persisting memory. So that is something that we will see in the next video. I hope this is useful. uh, Please subscribe for more videos. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.